Single men, what made you definitely not want a second date with a woman you went out with? Part 2. Story 11. Very specific turnoff as a black guy. I know history, but I also like my individuality. If you're going to blow up the entire dialogue during the date by showing off about how much you know about black oppression and whatever other cultural hot pick items roll up on your social awareness masturbation roster, you can wonder what went wrong on your early Uber ride home. Extra points for rattling off about every rapper you like or basketball. Story 12. We sat down at a corner booth and she was sitting really close to me. We both ordered, and to start off, she was hella rude to our server, like, "I want a lemonade, no ice. Did you get that, sweetheart?" I said, "No ice. Don't screw it up." So that already a bit of a turnoff. And when our food got in, she used like an entire squirt bottle of Heinz 57 ketchup on broccoli cheese casserole, and she was trying to whisper in my ear like, "You're hot, let's fool around." But I could smell the ketchup and it made me want to actually vomit and die. We did not go out again. Story 13. I went out with a doctor. I understand that it's important and she should be proud of it. However, she would not stop talking about how good she was at it. At one point she said she was thinking of quitting to be a baker and open up a bakery. I asked if she had any experience. Nope. She decided she could do it because she's so smart she could just learn it and be successful right away. I know people who bake professionally, and it's a lot of work. You can't just jump into it and open a business. I don't know if I've gone out with anyone quite so insufferable. Yeah, there's a difference between the attractiveness of confidence and just being full of yourself. I have no idea where that line is, but I do absolutely live with a constant anxiety that I have crossed that line. Story 14. I've got another one. We decided to do the whole, "Hey, let's grab some food, then hang out after" first date. Fine with me. We met up, got sat, then before we ordered anything, she gives me the disgusted look and says, "Oh wow, my ex wore the same cologne and he was a total douche." And it just got awkward after that. Needless to say, if you're gonna bring up an ex on your first date, that's a no friggin' go for me. Story 15. She would want to sit down and essentially power nap every 30 minutes or so. Edit. Apparently I need to tell her to see a doctor. Thanks. Edit 2. Upon reviewing old messages, she had mentioned that she had been sleeping during the day and staying up all night for a few weeks prior, and this was apparently her first daytime outing in a while. This was the beginning of this summer, and we're university students, so hopefully, no medical issues here. Story 16. She showed up in a dirty white dress. Her hair looked like it had not been brushed in months. During dinner, she told me that she still lived at home, never wanted to get a job, and that she stole her dad's car while he was asleep to meet me at the restaurant. Then when she found out that I was divorced, she said, "You didn't work hard enough to save your marriage." I put down the chopsticks, went and paid, and said, "Nice meeting you," and left. Every sentence that I read, I was thinking, oof, okay, well that's rough, but maybe... And then I would read the next sentence. That's a rough one. Good call on getting out of there, though I hope you at least took your leftovers. Just because the date was bad doesn't mean the food was. Story 17. She spent 30 minutes talking about her ex, who apparently sat on his butt at home during most of the 18 to 27 years playing Xbox while she was working 2 jobs and getting her pregnant twice. Then, after she finished this speech, she spent 10 minutes telling me that she now was going to get a man who had a job and money, and he was going to take care of her and her kids, etc., etc. I left after this part having paid for the dinner and thinking many, many unpleasant thoughts. Story 18. She rolled her eyes when I said she looked nice. She had put in a lot of effort, criticized where I chose to eat, complained about the music we went to see. I spent the whole date anxious, assuming that she was hating every moment. Because, she didn't have anything positive to say about anything. Then I get, "I had a good time, let's do this again." Nah, I'm good. I've got enough negativity and mixed signals coming from my own brain. I don't need that coming from the outside too. Story 19. She was easy to talk to, had a bunch of common interests, an interesting personality, and good stories to tell, but I just didn't feel any kind of romantic connection during the process. Friendly reminder that just because someone doesn't want a second date doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like you or that you f***ed up somehow. I wish I had the presence of mind to tell her this. Story 20. She said, "Haha, can't wait for you to meet my older brother. He just got out of jail for selling me. Don't tell me your younger brother was addicted her. Oh yeah, wonder how that happened. This I'm out." Story 21. She chewed gum through our initial date, which was at a decent Italian place during a bottle of good white wine. And she proceeded to tell me how she had married early, had 2 kids, girls, realized she was a lesbian, left her husband and took most of his money, lived with girlfriend number 1, left girlfriend number 1 for number 2, ended that and realized that long-term she needed a peen. I noped the f*** out of there so fast. And here I thought this whole story was going to be about the gum, which, I mean, shouldn't be a deal breaker in and of itself, unless you're Willy Wonka. But if that's the case, maybe your date should be the one bailing, because Wonka, you've got issues. Story 22. I was supposed to pick her up at noon. I got to the house and knocked. She didn't answer. I texted her. She finally responds and opens the door. She says she's sorry she overslept, goes to the freezer, pulls out a handle of alcohol, pulls the tomato juice from the fridge, mixes a huge Bloody Mary and drinks it down. Makes a second one and says, "Let's go." The date wasn't that bad, but I just can't roll like that. Story 23. I once went to a movie as a first date with a girl. Her idea, bad idea. She got there late and the movie had already started. She then wanted to talk during the movie in the middle of the crowded theater. I didn't shush her or anything, but everything was a one-word answer trying to end the conversation. She got up halfway through and said I was obviously not interested in her. She was right. Story 24. I went on a date with a lady I met online. She talked about 3 things on this date and little else. Her pets, her ex, the last time she had gastro. There was no second date. Story 25. She asked if I had any love interests still in existence. When I said no, she didn't believe me. She told me she wanted to travel the world and see old friends who were guys and thought that I, as a lawyer, should work and pay for her travels. She was insane. She also offered to f*** in her car in the first 5 minutes of meeting. No second date for you. What is with people being so demanding on a first date? Wait, when you were talking online beforehand, did she keep referring to you as sugar daddy? Because then she is justified, unless of course you're Willy Wonka. Then I guess you could be forgiven for thinking it was just a nickname. However, you can't be forgiven for those children you murdered, Wonka. Story 26. Met her at a hospital. I was an ER patient for a hand wound. She was a phlebotomist. Asked her out to a movie and then dinner, had a really excellent talk about comics and movies. We were getting to know each other and flirting. It was clearly a date. At the end, when I told her I'd like to do it again, she said her fiancé probably wouldn't be cool with it a second time. Story 27. All of these are pretty much petty things that bugged me, but for me, one of the biggest things was that there just not being any chemistry. Everything was fine when we were texting, but I just didn't feel much of a connection with her in person. She was nice and the date was fine, but I just wasn't digging it and didn't want to lead her on. Story 28. First and only date with a girl I barely knew through some friends. I drove to her house, she got in my car and smelled like she had just taken a massive but forgot to wipe. Went to dinner, I barely ate. Made an excuse to end early, dropped her off, and drove home with the windows down in the middle of winter. Story 29. This one girl told me she was giving me a chance because a mutual friend said I was nice. She was totally out of my league and we both knew it, but she insisted on acting like it was a favor to go out to dinner with me. If she's not actively happy about seeing me, I don't really want to see her either. Story 30. You'd have to get rid of your cat. I'd get rid of you first. And that was the end of that. I actually had 2 women tell me I'd have to get rid of my cat pretty much immediately. You, a cat is a life commitment. Yeah, I'm sorry. If I was dating someone and they said, you would have to get rid of your dogs, I would say, why are we on a date? I got these dogs with my partner. Wait, did something happen to her? What year is it? What even am I doing? Story 31. I've got a few. 1 was an anti-Semite. 2 was crazy and an anti-Semite. 3 talked during a movie. A Quiet Place of all movies. Story 32. First date. Her. Are you sure you want to be my career? Don't you think that you should wait until our children are old enough to have their lives together? Then you'd be free to do what you want. Me. Listen, I'm leaving. Bye. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 33. Went out for coffee. She brought a bottle of alcohol and kept topping up her cup. I politely asked her what the deal was and she said she liked to party. When it was time to go, she fell over and started screaming that I had to help her up. I did, told her to wait right there, and left. Story 34. Went to dinner. She was on her phone the entire time texting, even when we were talking. Figured she was just in it for a free dinner, cause really, what's the point of agreeing to a date if you're not going to try to get to know the person? Story 35. She audibly said the N-word in the middle of my favorite sushi restaurant within earshot of a black family with small children. Edit, to put this into context, I am not white, I'm brown. Story 36. Teeth as black as the night. She didn't have any diseases or syndromes, but simply no time to brush her teeth. For the record, her photos didn't show her teeth. How do teeth get that color without just falling out? Folks, I don't want to shame anyone who has dental problems, but not having time isn't a good excuse. Make time. Take care of your teeth. If stuff goes bad, you have to live with that for the rest of your life. I've had relatives who screwed up their teeth, and it sucks. Story 37. Went for a walk in the woods. She walked about 5 feet ahead of me the whole time. Would think maybe she was nervous walking alone in the woods with a guy she didn't know, but she's the one that suggested a walk. I don't know, it was weird. Story 38. When we saw Fury in theaters, she read the subtitles out loud. I'm not sure if she thought I couldn't read them or if she needed to sound them out, but I knew at that moment no follow-up was necessary. Story 39. Recently started seeing someone. However, before I went out with a woman a few times, she was nice and I was physically attracted to her. The reason I stopped seeing her was because I found out she was married. Story 40. I drove her home because she didn't have a car at that time, and she asked we stop for an errand to pick up matching t-shirts she had designed for her and her ex. Story 41. We were both wicked wasted, and I said it wouldn't be right to have intercourse since neither of us were in a condition to make rational choices, and she called me the next day via text after leaving my house as I was passed out. Story 42. She showed up in short shorts looking super strung out with several visible self-inflicted cigarette burns on her thighs from that morning. When I asked if she was okay, she said it'd heal. Story 43. Outdated pics on Tinder. Some girls were way younger or way thinner. I'm okay with a thick woman, but we have our limits. But really, the dishonesty off the bat was the problem. Story 44. I had a girl full out yell at me over what I ordered at Chili's. Definitely dodged a bullet there. Edit, for all those asking, I ordered a salad and she wanted me to order chicken crispers. LOL. Honestly, if I was her, I would have yelled at you for the far more unforgivable crime of taking me to Chili's. I hate that restaurant so much. That's right, Chili's. Mr. Fax is calling you out. Stop serving everything with ranch to cover up how your food is, you cowards. Also, if you like Chili's, more power to you. I like White Castle. We're both allowed to enjoy garbage. Story 45. She didn't even bring her wallet to the restaurant. I would have offered and obviously ended up paying, but that level of presumptuousness was an immediate turnoff. Story 46. Claimed that she was seeing other guys just to use them for free drinks, their pool, their car was nice, etc. Noped out real quick. Story 47. As a woman, these responses are making me feel 10 times better about myself since I wouldn't even think of doing this. Story 48. Oh God, the phone. Put that thing away. I've literally gotten up and walked out because they wouldn't put it away. I don't need constant attention, but you know the type. Story 49. She had a 1-year-old and told me about a recent nasty divorce. No problem until she told me that the divorce was due to the baby not being his. Story 50. If I ask you a question or try to talk, please reciprocate. I hate that I feel like I'm supposed to use up an arsenal of questions that will only get a brief response in return. I will direct you to my response about those of us who overtalk on first dates and in turn say that this anxiety can also have the opposite reaction in people. Doesn't mean you have to give a second date, but I would encourage giving people time to open up. Story 51. Nurse I met on Tinder. She told me she dislikes all her patients and that sometimes she would simply ignore them for long periods of time. That's a no for me, dog. Story 52. When she asked me for my birthday, then proceeded to tell me everything that was wrong with me as a person based solely on my horoscope. No joke, folks. This is why I don't tell people my sign. I have nothing against those who enjoy or put faith in astrology. You do you, but I honestly feel really uncomfortable having people make assumptions about me based on my sign. Maybe just get to know me and don't use numerological shortcuts. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.